Hello 107 students. So I said I was going to do a quick video on this handout that I passed out today that we didn't have a chance to do in class. But it's okay. You guys did a good job working on 8.4 and very good questions. So let me go ahead and just get started. So again, you should have this handout already. So there's two objectives that I want you to focus on in this section. And we're going to be solving problems involving angle measure. Okay, so angle measure, and also solving problems involving angles, okay, formed by parallel, so let's maybe parallel lines and transversals, right? So parallel lines, remember, are just two lines that never intersect, right? They actually have the same slope. And a transversal is basically just a special line, right? This is just a special line, right? That's going to go through my parallel line. And actually, let me just, might as well make it easier here. So this is parallel, and we're going to talk about this again. I'm going to go into detail. So I have two parallel lines, and there's my transversal. Okay, so I'll go into it a little bit later. So what are angles? So angles are formed by the union of two rays. Okay, so let me make that in blue. So the union of two rays, and it's specifically the union of two rays at a common endpoint. So I'm going to draw a point here. And so this point, if I draw a ray, right, this is one ray. Pretend that's a straight line. That's horrible. That's a straight line. That's a ray. And I'm going to draw another ray, right, the union of two rays. And again, this is, I mean, we've been talking a lot about lines, graphing lines, and a line would keep going, but a ray, right, stops at a point. And so, I mean, I can, all right, there's infinitely many points on this ray, but I can plot a point there and a point there. And I can call these points, I'll call this one A, B, C, you can call it X, Y, Z, E, F, G, it doesn't matter, but normally capital letters are denoted when we're naming angles. Okay, so ABC, this B here, we call it the vertex. Okay, and again, the definition, one ray is called the initial side, and the other ray is called the terminal side. This is the initial side, okay, and this is the terminal side. So this is where it starts, right, and it's going to open up, and this is where it's going to end. So let me maybe, let's see, okay, so this guy is going to be my initial side, and this is going to be my terminal side. Right, it opens up right this way. And again, then if you want to look at the book, I mean, they call it angle 1. I can call it angle 2, 3, 4, but let's just start with 1. And here, the angles are measured, okay, by the amount of rotation from the initial to the terminal side. So the amount of rotation. Now, we can use a protractor to measure this, which we'll do in a bit. But one thing I want to talk about is naming angles. Okay, there's a lot of different ways of naming angles. This angle, we can name it, we can say angle 1, right? This is the symbol for angle. Sometimes it's just like the little inequality sign, but sometimes that looks like an L, so we usually have the little arc so we won't get confused. But this is the same thing as if we want to call it, well, maybe not write an equal sign, but another way of writing it is we can say angle B, right? That represents this angle, right? This guy. I can also say angle ABC. I can say angle CBA, right? So those are 4 different ways to name the angle. And I want you to notice that the vertex, right, is always in the middle, right, when you write an angle with 3 letters. So that's very, very important in order to have an angle. So that's all for angles. And again, there's a lot of types of angles, and here I'm just classifying angles based on their degree measure. So we're going to measure angles by degree. We can measure it by radians. If you've taken trigonometry, you might have heard of radians, but we're going to work with degrees. So here we have 4 clocks, and they describe 4 different angles, right? And I'm going to start off with quickly, I'm going to do the right angle first. You'll see why. So a right angle, okay, so a whole revolution, right? If we start here, a whole revolution would be 360. But here's my initial side, and here is the terminal side, and it makes a perfect L, right? This line and this line are perpendicular. When you see this little square, that denotes that that is exactly 90 degrees. We call that a right angle. When it's 90, it's a right angle. What about when it's less than 90? Okay, so we have the acute angle here. Well, we know 90 is just like this, right? Well, but that's definitely less than 90. So that's an acute angle. So we have, so acute angle, we have right angle, and then I'm just quickly going to move on to this one. A straight angle is literally a straight line, right? If we start here and we go all the way around, right, it rotates, we actually get 180 degrees. And an obtuse angle, anything more than 90 degrees, so 90 degrees would be an L, so it's definitely more than the L, right? It keeps going, but it's definitely less than the straight angle, right? Because a straight angle would be there, and that would be my 90 degrees, and it definitely passes 90, right? But it's less than 180, right? That straight line. So acute, right, obtuse, and straight angle. So be familiar with that terminology. And let's see, quickly, we can measure an angle, right, using a protractor. So here, we actually know the measure of this angle. So I'm going to use M because we're actually measuring this. The measurement of angle, and I'll call this ABC, is equal to, well, remember this is our initial side, right? This is the terminal side. And so I'm looking at the numbers inside here. And I'm going up, and it stops at 50. So that is 50 degrees. And we use, again, M when we actually know the measurement of the angle. Notice in the beginning I didn't use an M because we didn't know what the measurement was. We were just kind of talking about, right, what an angle was. We actually don't know this measure. We can measure it with a protractor, but I didn't measure it with a protractor. So again, that was just a definition. Okay, let's quickly, actually, let me go ahead and stop here, and then I'll make the next video on the next page, next page on next video, just so it won't get too long.